20 for 2. And then 3 would be 15, 25, 15. And then 4 would be 20, 15, 4, 12 and a half. What were the rest of them? It's 40?
5.75.
5.75. 60.
5.5.
45. Okay, and then 100. 5.3.
Yep.
Great. All right, so we can kind of see how it's kind of dropping down. So we're going to kind of sketch this. Again, our x's are going to go from 1 to 100. So this is 1, 0, 10, 20, 30, 40, 50 days, 60, 70, 80, 90, 100 days. And here we'll go with I'm going to go to 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So this is our top at 40. I'm going to do 40 up here. So then every one of these markers is 4. So this would be 4, 8, 12, 16, 20, and then 40. Which is a good way of kind of marking it. Let's see. So after 1 day, which is really, really close to here, we've got 35 words. And then after 2 days, we drop down to 20 words. At 10 days, we're at 8 words. 10 days, we're at 8 words. That helps me center things a little bit. So we go 15, 12 and a half, and 11. 15, 12 and a half. And then we hop over to 6 and a half, 6, 6 and a half, 6. That's okay, close enough. 575. Is 5.75. So it looks like, so sort of what we're doing is we're getting closer and closer to this line. So we start off here and we kind of go, nothing happens for a long time, and then we drop really quickly, and then we sort of taper off, and then we're sort of like maintaining at this sort of level. I'm kind of drawing it wrong, but this level of five. So it kind of stops dropping at 5. And gets closer and closer to 5. So does it look like it has an asymptote here? Cool, I see one at 5. Shortly above 4. There's a kind of asymptote here at 5. find f of 365, and interpret the meaning. So that would be n is equal to 365 times 5 plus 30 over 365. Over 365. 5.08. So again, after 1 year, right, after 365 days, after 1 year, what happens after 1 year?
They retain 5.08 words.
They retain 5.08 words on average. So you can see as it, as time goes on, it's still on average remember about 5 words. It's kind of that bumper there. Okay. Good. So you can kind of see how these rational functions work. They sort of have this thing where like it drops really quickly and then tapers off, so it kind of stays that way, or it goes the other way where it grows very slowly and all of a sudden it shoots up. Right? It kind of does one way or the other, these asymptotes. All right, so now we're going to take a look at proportions. We're going to jump a little bit because I'm skipping the inverses, so I'll do that later. But I want to get to this one so that I can shift those two homeworks around. So this will be the one that's due on the 29th. Okay, so proportions. Similar to ratios. Eric, go ahead and read for me. Yes, up to here.
Okay. If a worker is paid $75 for 6 hours of work, then their rate of pay is $75 per 6 hours. The rate can be simplified to $25 per 2 hours. Although the numbers look different, these two rates are equal. We can write it $75 per 6 hours equals $25 per 2 hours. While reducing one rate is the other way of checking whether or not they are equivalent, there is another technique that can be used called cross-multiplying. If two rates or ratios are equal, then their cross products will equal. What is the cross product? To find the cross product, you multiply diagonally across the equal sign.
Right, it has to have an equal sign. No equal sign, no bueno, you can't do it. What I like to do instead, personally, to avoid that confusion of when can I do it and when I can't, because people do it, mix it all the time when they do their simplification, is I like to take both sides and multiply both sides by both denominators. So multiply both sides by 2 and by 6. And then these ones will cancel out. And I'm left with 2 times 75 equaling 25 times 6. All right, once you kind of cancel out, once you cancel these folks out. So that's the way I prefer to do it, because then you don't have this confusion of when can I not do it and when I can do it, because a lot of times when you're changing your units, people mix those up. So then are those the same? 2 times 75 is 150. 25 times 6 is also 150, so they're equal. So yes, they are the same.
What did you do?
So I multiply both sides. Here's my equal sign.
Yeah.
And maybe I'll draw a line down the middle for.
Like, what are you multiplying by what? 75 by 2?
Hold on. You draw my line down the middle, okay? I'm going to multiply both sides by 2 and by 6, the denominators. Both sides. Thank you. Thanks, Amy. Everybody on board? What I do to one side, I have to do to the other side. Right, okay, so a pizza costs $10 at Costco. Are you with me? If I multiply this side by 2 pizzas, I have to multiply this side by 2, $20. Is that understand what I'm saying? So you can't multiply this side by 6 and not multiply that side by 6. I have to multiply both sides by the same thing. So I multiply this side, see here's my equal sign. Multiply this side by 2 and also by 26, by 6, by 2 and by 6. This side, I'm multiplying it by 2 and by 6 also. The 2 over 2 will cancel out. 2 over 2 is just another form of 1. The 6 over 6 will cancel out. That's another form of 1. So I'm left with 2 times 75 and 25 times 6, because the 2's have canceled out. So that's what I have here, 2 times 75 and 25 times 6. What's 2 times 75? 150. What's 25 times 6? If you have 6 quarters, you have $1.50. Are you not seeing this? Is it because you can't see the 75 over 2 part very well? 75 over 6, 25 over 2.
Yeah, I get what you're doing now.
Okay.
Yeah. This is just another way of doing what they were,
Yes.
instead of cross multiplying.
Right.
Yeah.
The thing that worries me about what they're doing is that, people get that mixed up all the time if you're trying to find equivalent units, change units. So these are called proportions. When you have this, when you set two rates or ratios equal to each other, that's a proportion. Here's an example. Gabe, read for me. Example.
A photocopy machine can make 1,300 single-sided copies in 4 minutes. How long will it take the machine to make 435 single-sided copies?
Okay, so what I think you should do is start with what you want to find. So that would be my suggestion. So we're going to just do this alone. So what do we have going on? So we have, look at the first part, we have single-sided copies, and we have 4 minutes. Those go together. Everybody on board? That's 1 unit. Yes?
Yeah.
What's the other thing we have? We have how long, that's my x, with 435 copies. So here's a suggestion. Start with x. X is what I'm trying to find. And put it over what it goes with. So x goes with what? 435 copies. Set that equal to the other part. So the other part is 4 and 1,300. Everybody with me? I need to label that. So if x is really x minutes, then what should be, if minutes is on top here, minutes needs to be on the top on the other side. They need to match up. If I'm going to do minutes over copies here, I need to do minutes over copies over there. So what would it be over here? What's my minutes? 4 minutes. Label them while you set it up over 1,300 copies. Now, these folks should have a relationship, and they do, because they go together. It's X minutes for 435 copies. Everybody see what I'm saying? These two should have a relationship, because they're both minutes. So each one needs to have a relationship with the one below it or above it, and the one across from it. These folks have a relationship, they're both copies. These two have a relationship because it takes 4 minutes to make 1,300 copies. These two have a relationship because they're both minutes. So they have a relationship with the one below or above them and the one across from them. That's how you know you haven't flipped them around the other way. Otherwise is to check your units and make sure they're both minutes over copies. The same thing over the same thing. Now, here's the easy thing. Once you do that, all I have to do to solve this is to say, I want x. How do I get x by itself? I multiply both sides by 435 copies. And then you can take away the units at that point. And then these folks will cancel out, and I'll get x equals 4 times 435 divided by 1,300. So I'm just gonna do that. 4 times 435 divided by 1,300, bam. 1.34 minutes. That should be what they got as well. Yep, 1.338 minutes. Good. Now what they're saying is you can also go the other direction. 4 times 435 divided by 1,300. You could also go the other direction. You could say X minutes over 4 minutes, because they're both minutes. But then what has to be across from the X minutes needs to be the 435 copies. Because these two folks better have a relationship, and they do, because it takes X minutes to make 435 copies. How long does it take to make 4 minutes? How many copies can you make? 1,300 copies. So you can do it either way, because these folks, have a relationship. They match up, and then these are both minutes and these are both copies, and you'll get the same thing. Because what you'll do is, for this one, I'm going to multiply both sides by 4, right, to get rid of the 4 minutes. 4 over 1, if you want to think of it that way, if that helps you a little bit. Then these folks will cancel out, and I'll be left with X minutes equals, again, 435 times 4 divided by 1,300, 1.34 minutes. So you can do it either way. Just make sure that you have a relationship with one that you're across from and the one you're above or below. They're either the same group, right? By group meaning that they go together, right? Like the orange ones and the purple ones, or that they're the same thing, copies and minutes.
Oh, I solved it. I have a different way that I solved it.
Okay, did you do the same answer?
Yeah.
Fine, that's fine, I don't care,
Okay.
doesn't
Well,
matter.
I'm just saying, like, because I just do these things sometimes,
Okay,
and I just,
that is all right.
yeah.
I do want people to practice setting up ratios and proportions though. So we are gonna set some up. So 12 donuts cost $2.50. So I like the ratio one personally. 12 sorry, I like the rate one, my bad. 12 donuts cost $2.50. X donuts cost, how many donuts can you get for $5? So I like setting them in rates personally. And then just make sure that whatever's on top, you have your X on top, and you have the other things on the bottom, and then they both match. They both have the X. If it's X donuts, they both have to have donuts on top. Then I can set them equal to each other and say, okay, 12 over 250 equals X over $5. And then to solve for X, all I have to do is multiply both sides by 5. And I have my answer. So the key is to make sure that we're going to be doing a couple of these. So in here, for the rates, I want you to label them and make sure that the, what's my X here? Is my X hours or money? Hours. How many? That's my X. So I'm going to have X hours over $800. I would do that one first and then make the other match up so you have hours over dollars here. Then you can just set them equal to each other. Right? X over 800 equals whatever the other pieces are. And then solve it. Are folks following what I'm doing, what I'm talking about? Okay, great. So we're going to do these ones, and then we'll come back and take a look at them.